Welcome to Just a Minute. Hello, my name is Nicholas Parsons, and once again it is my pleasure to welcome everyone to Just a Minute. And also welcome our four panelists. We have three of our regular players of the game, Kenneth Williams, Peter Jones, Clement Freud, and as our guest we welcome someone who has never played the game before, a most distinguished broadcaster of many years, Stanley Unwin. Will you please welcome all four of them? Beside me sits Ian Messiter with his whistle ready to blow when 60 seconds is up, and also keep the score. And once again, I'm going to ask our four panelists to speak, if they can, on the subject I give them without hesitation, repetition, or deviating from the subject. Peter Jones, will you start the show this week? And the subject is winter pajamas. You have 60 seconds, as usual, beginning now.
I've got 3 pairs of thick pajamas. 2 were given to me by my wife, and 1 I bought after the sales were over. And they're a great comfort in the very cold weather. They've all got strong waistbands so that you don't wake up in the morning to find that your legs are tied together at the ankles. And if you leap out of bed terribly quickly, it can be a very bad start to the day if you fall headlong across the bedroom floor. Now, these are pink and blue. I can't remember now, and you're probably not terribly interested, in which is in the majority, but they have white stripes in between the 2 different colors. I suppose green might be obtainable, but I don't have any. Black and white would be probably...
And Clement Freud is challenged.
Hesitation.
Yes, there was a definite there. So, Clement, you have a correct challenge. A point for that. You take over the subject of winter pajamas, and there are 7 seconds left, starting now.
I think on winter mornings it is a straight choice between pajamas and drinking Austrian wine. And on the whole...
Whoever is speaking as the whistle goes gains an extra point. It was Clement Freud. In fact, has anyone had any points in that round? And Clement, we'd like you to take the next round, which is trips, starting now.
My wife and youngest son and daughter went on a trip to Gambia over Christmas. And it really was terribly nice. The Gambians come up to you and say hello twice, but we can't in this game repeat. I am your friend. And they try and become your financial advisor, consultant, or work for you in some other capacity, which is enormously helpful, if only because...
Peter Jones is challenged.
Well, it was a hesitation,
yes,
wasn't it?
It was a full stop, and
yes.
A pause, and hesitation. 32 seconds are left for you, Peter, on trips, starting now.
It would be nice to have an independent income and be free from time to time to just take...
And Clement Freud is challenged on
time to time,
I'm
yes,
afraid.
Of course, yes. Of course.
Yes, you've got to watch these little catchphrases because they trip you up in just a minute. 26 seconds left, Clement. Trips, starting now.
Kenneth Williams goes on railway trips, which he finds good fun, although often there are leaves on the lines which... make it very difficult
Kenneth
to
Williams
steer
has
the
challenged
train.
you.
There was long pause, wasn't there?
I know, I think he was waiting for the audience reaction.
Oh,
actually.
I see. Well, I think I would class it as hesitation, I'm afraid.
Yes, all right. Kenneth, and as we haven't heard from you yet, and I know Clement's a very generous player of the game, I will give you the benefit of the doubt and say you have 16 seconds to tell us something about trips, starting now.
The most memorable was my parents took me to Margate, and I had a stick of rock and an enormous paper parasol, and I was delighted to parade around in it. I thought it was the most chic thing.
So, Kenneth, speaking as the whistle went, gained an extra point. It's Clement Freud still in the lead. And Stanley Unwin, we're going to hear from you as you take the next round. And the subject for you, Stanley, is communication. Something of which I'm sure you have a lot to tell us about, because it's a subject on which I believe you are an expert. Is that
yes,
right?
indeed,
right.
yes.
And you begin now.
Oh. Well, the early communication, of course, was the tom-tom which is a wonderful form of communicating between the natives of various continents of the world. But from the so-called civilized world, I think the early digital communication was the Morse code. Di-di-di-da-di-da, and so on. Then after that, we had oral communication. Now the trouble is, I find, is that our wonderful language, which very few of us bother to speak properly, you know. You might well think, but it's always the first time on a program, you know. But deep folly. Communication, I found one day that a chap wasn't listening to what I was trying to express.
Well, that was Stanley Unwin's first attempt at playing Just a Minute. And I think he hardly erred once, did you, Stanley? Nobody challenged you. And actually, if they didn't challenge you, I'm going to institute a new rule. Because, Stanley, you not only get a point for when the speaking as a whistle went, but you get a point for not being interrupted. And as you actually said 77 times, I think that we'll give you a bonus point as well, another one.
I'd love to have told the story, what the chap didn't understand.
Let's hear it.
Yes, the chap wasn't listening to what I was trying to say. I was trying to get my car repaired. So I thought I'd try it on him. So I said, it's a middle stripe service every 500 mile load. He said, we can't cope with that. So I said, could you cope with the rest of the sales of Charlotte Street? Oh, yes, he said, I'll put you through. So he put me through to the sales, and the chap at the other said, sales Temple Street. I said, I want to supersede the availability before the report itself came through. Oh, he said, you'll have to wait 2 to 3 months. So I wanted him to say, what the hell are you talking about? So I asked him, should I be able to get under the civil with the O if I came down? He said, yes, we close at 6, that'll be all right.
Obviously, Stanley, you don't need a minute. You need about 5 minutes for each one. You were building up to tell us that story, were you?
Yes, I was. I do beg your pardon, though.
That's all right. No, it's the parcel over the parcel. I mean, the personality. Yes. You're in the lead. Don't you? With Clement Freud, it's Kenneth Williams' turn to begin, and the subject, Kenneth, is cards. Will you tell us something about that in this game, starting now?
It led me into the most extraordinary adventure. I was walking along, and she produced these cards, ostensibly, you know, the kind of cards that identify people, you know. And it said, Pose Plastique. And I thought, well, oh, you know, perhaps it is an amusing exhibition. And I found myself with 3 other people in this back room in Birmingham, round a bed on which these people were displaying various kinds of anatomical...
Clement Freud challenged.
Repetition of people.
Yes, I'm afraid you did repeat
jolly
people.
good if you've been there.
And we just got to the
You go on a
anatomical...
bit. I'd like to hear the end of this.
I know. We just got to the anatomical part, didn't we? What happened after the anatomical bit?
We were all round this bed, you see, watching. And this woman was supposed to get into this plastique pose plastique, you know what it is, they all actually had to do one of these. But she got the cramp, and she was screaming, you know, like that. It was murder, and we all started, you know, we all took a step back. Well, actually, I fell over the chair, because I'd actually stood up to get a closer look, you see. Because I do think it's very healthy to be curious, don't you? Yeah, I'm sure you do too. But anyway, there came an awful banging at the door, you see, and this landlord said the room was being used for improper purposes, not apropos the display, but because they were charging admission, you see.
Yes.
And he said that constituted a trade.
Well, we're very interested to hear the sort of work you did before you became an actor.
That's right.
Cramp or no cramp. There are 22 seconds left for Clement Freud, because he had a correct challenge a little while ago, and the subject is cards, Clement, starting now.
This is not actually the program stipulated on my contract.
And Stanley Unwin has pressed his buzzer. Stanley, you have challenge. What is your challenge?
Well, the challenge is that there was nothing about cards there at all, I felt, from Clement.
Well, he actually came to a stop, and he hesitated, didn't he?
Oh, yes, there was hesitation
Yeah,
as
yes,
well. So
I'm glad you spotted that as well.
dual
Yes, yes. Well, Stanley, you have the subject of cards, and there are 14 seconds left, starting now.
on cards. Well, legerdemain is the use...
Peter Jones has challenged you.
Hesitation.
Yes, I don't think I can let you have it this time, Stanley. I let you have it 17 times last time, so what a hesitation. Can you watch the Stanley? It's
I
not
will
helpful
indeed.
in this game.
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed.
There are 10 seconds left for you, Peter, on cards, starting now.
Chico Chehegara Mutilab Musgraven 3 is something, if written on a card, would be quite difficult to pronounce, even if Stanley were reading it. Now...
Right, so Peter Jones is speaking as the whistle went, gained that extra point, and it is very close with Stanley Unwin, Clement Freud in the lead, just ahead of Peter Jones and Kenneth Williams. And Kenneth, you've just started. Peter, it's time to hear from you again. The subject, potatoes. Will you tell us something about that in just a minute, starting now?
I wish this were called Just a Second, because I don't really know a lot about potatoes. They belong to the same family as tomatoes. The same...
Clement Freud challenged.
They don't. Yes, they do. They have the same sort of leaf. They are...
They have the same sort of leaf, but
they are related.
Anyway, Clement Freud was correct in his challenge. And so he has the subject of potatoes with 52 seconds left, starting now.
One of the very great dangers at the moment is rhizomania, which is a disease which attacks potatoes and is exported from Holland and other continental countries in the earth surrounding the tuber. I could have said potatoes because it is the word on the card, but I chose to use another...
Kenneth, you got in this time with a challenge. And 33 seconds for you on potatoes, starting now.
One of the very nice ways to have them is in the jackets, put in the oven, giving them about an hour, say. They're awfully good if you sprinkle a bit of cheese and black pepper on the top. Now, King Edward does come out of this very creditably. The new, on the other hand, are best from Jersey. Now, I find the floury content in them most delectable. On the other hand, people say to me often that they would rather have something more tough.
Clement Freud challenge.
Hesitation.
Yes, more so Clement, you've got in with 4 seconds to go on potatoes, starting now.
Mashed potatoes are probably my favorite way of eating them. You rub...
So Clement Freud told us quite a lot about potatoes, also speaking as a whistle when gained an extra point, and we go from one subject concerned with food to another, and I'm sure this is especially for you, Clement, because Ian Messert has come up with the subject of Roman dormouse cooking. Will you tell us something about that in just a minute, starting now?
If you...
Kenneth Williams.
Hesitation.
Oh, no, I think that was a bit too sharp. You're
Definite
showing
hesitation, I thought.
Yes, you heard it too, didn't you? Yes, he
how do you-
hesitated. He
How
sat
do you
there.
hear a
Where he was,
hesitation?
look at him.
No. With an unwritten rule amongst the regulars, they are allowed to get underway. Even Clement Freud is, in spite of his brilliance at the game. So there was only 3/4 of a second there, actually. And we've still with Clement Freud on Roman dormouse cooking, starting now.
If you have to eat a Roman dormouse, cooked would be my favorite way. Boiling, steaming...
Peter Jones, a challenge.
I think there was an over...